I am calling to order the Arts Commission meeting of March 25th, 2021. And before I ask for a roll call, I just wanted to acknowledge that two very members of our commission will not be answering present today. They've recently stepped down. Sammy Zaringer, who served faithfully the Arts Commission for more than several years, I think it's 4 or 5 years, had to step back from her responsibilities on the Arts Commission. And Linda Harmon, after 13 years on the Arts Commission, had to step back too, to retire and spend more time with her family. So we're really going to miss them. They won't be saying present today, and I will miss them both. I'm sure everyone else will as well. So with that, Louise, can you call the roll?
Absolutely. Chair Tosher?
Here.
Commissioner Chisholm?
Present.
Commissioner Golden?
Here.
Commissioner Gerber?
Here.
And Commissioner West?
Here.
Perfect.
Hello.
And go ahead.
Sound working? Sound is working here?
We hear you. We hear you.
Good.
All right, Louise, do we have any public comments today?
No public comments.
Okay, then we'll move along to, Pledge of Allegiance. Let's see. Smitty, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Pick your flag. I see we have two here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Smitty. We'll move along to consent items. And the only item to be a consent item are the minutes of the February 18th, 2021 meeting. I found a few corrections, minor things. On page 2 of 3, item D, couple sentence, second sentence before the end, to reproduce the artwork, not the artwork. The artwork, should be the.
Okay.
And then on page 3 of 3, we're adjourning to the next regular meeting on, well, I guess it would be a special meeting on Thursday, February 25th at 5:30.
Okay, perfect. I'll go ahead and make those correct.
Anyone else have any notes about the minutes? Christine.
The minutes, since Louise has been doing them, are always so tidy and perfect. I will move to accept the minutes.
Perfect. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Motion passed.
Thank you. And next we will move along to discussions and action items. In your packet, you'll see a revised calendar for 2021. It occurred to me that we didn't approve the calendar that was submitted last month, so gave me an opportunity to kind of look through and just very slightly tweak some items, to supplement some of the items. So it's pretty tight. It's pretty tight what we'll do this year. So I would be open to any suggestions about the calendar, any additions, any comments. All right, then we'll vote to approve it. So if someone
So moved.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Nigel, second.
Okay. And we'll go ahead and begin with a roll call. Chair Tosher?
Yes.
Commissioner West?
Yes.
Commissioner Chisholm? Commissioner Chisholm? Oh, that's a yes.
Sorry, I was muted. I apologize.
Okay. Commissioner Golden?
Yes.
And Commissioner Gerber?
Yes.
Perfect. Motion passed.
Great. Okay. An item is coming up now that I'm really looking forward to hearing about. The package materials really interesting, really great concept. And that is the public access Channel 10 idea that Smitty West came up with. So I'll turn over the floor to Smitty to talk to us about that.
Thank you. We put together a little page and a half here. I had the opportunity to speak with James Hahn. James, is that his name? Yeah, over at the Tech Center, who's kind of was around and oversaw, or at least understood the history of how Ojai's Channel 10 came to be what it is, which is something I could say I just personally come across it now and then. I may even see my face on it sometimes. But I was curious how we could make it a little more interesting and at the same time serve the objectives of the Arts Commission and the city's arts in general. And I also was curious how we could use it, even more. So to further the, our public art mission and our education missions and some of our other, and our collection, some of our other stuff too. So I had to learn a little bit about what a government channel was, and the front half of the discussion points here, a little bit of the history of how Ojai about 12 years ago came across this. Had to do with some federal laws and then state laws that changed the way that the cable rights and franchises were kind of doled out, and what communities had, government and local communities had, in terms of their position on the kind of food chain there. And I won't go through the whole history, but I'll just say we had the choice. The city of Ojai then had the choice to make it either a public access channel, an educational access channel, or a governmental access channel. And the cities chose to make it a governmental access channel. The primary reason they chose that, it's sort of one of the most limiting ones of the three that you can pick. You think of the whole broad spectrum from from CNN to to Ojai's Chase station is probably the most limited one, but it's also the cheapest, easiest to manage, and at the time, it was a choice they made. Comparatively, Ventura chose to make a public access channel, and their budget for that, because once you can put anything on there, and all of a sudden you have to curate it and edit it and make sure you follow the rules, and it becomes a full-time job. They have a $6 or $7 million budget per year to run their channel down in I forget what number it is down in Ventura. We have a government one though, and in terms of I wanted to make sure in advance, and I checked around on the with James and Luis, that we are considered part of government. So the government channel, as you can read there, is used for programming by local governments, which means it has to be government business. I know that we have done some stuff for the schools in the past. I don't know how we did that, but it appears, and I'm glad that the Arts Commission potentially, our use of that channel could be, if it's a non-commercial thing, could be used for the. What I really wanted to do today is just have some discussion. I have a little proposal, which to pilot, but I did want to talk about the second part of the report shows our public art, our arts mentorship, our grants, our collections, or any of the other ones there. So the questions I thought we could have some discussion around are, how can we use it? And how can it complement the other things that we do in public relations? And how it can complement or be kind of dual purposed on our website, on social media, or on print media as well. Would that require Secondly, would that require any other resources? And then what would our limitations be as well? So the proposal I wanted to make, and I'll just make it right now, is that we take something that we're doing anyways. We did this beautiful print and online presentation of the art, or the art tours. There are four different parts of the town. And I was going to propose that we do a pilot. I just happen to be able to do that because I have a studio here. To do a pilot, take one of those tours and give the same sort of information that's already present in our brochure and online, but do it in a media friendly way that would look nice on TV. And if it was on a rotation on the channel 10 with all the meetings and everything else that are there right now, I think it would be a nice public service. It would bring a little more, anytime we can kind of celebrate the Arts Commission. We're really celebrating art in Ojai, so we shouldn't be too shy about that. We should be proud that what we're doing is what the is for the people and for the interest of art and art education in the community. So I have no qualms about presenting our public art that we've curated and stewarded our taxpayers' resources. Let's share it on TV and dual purpose it for other stuff as well. But so we can talk about that, and we can talk about the other ways that we can talk about the other things that we do. And I I don't know what the format, how we like to discuss this, Luis, but
Sure. So one of the things I would like to go ahead and know is, for public access or government channel access 10, the content that we share on there are government sponsored programs. So the things that you just mentioned, as far as promoting the grants program, the mentor program, that would be absolutely fine to go ahead and do. It does become a little more complex, or one of the things that we shy away from is sharing other organizations information, because then where do we limit that? So that's one to go ahead and know. But as far as beginning the discussion itself, it would be up to the commission if they would like to go ahead and seek permission from the city council and or the city manager to go ahead and move forward with such a pilot project. I think that would be perfectly fine to go ahead and do. Again, as far as how to go ahead and put like any advertise or any notices out there, it's just a simple standard template that our IT department can go ahead and share. The commission can go ahead and put a template together and send it to the city for approval. If approved, it'll go up on channel 10. And if you'd like to go ahead and do a video, as you just mentioned, Commissioner West, it could be something that the commission can go ahead and take on. Whether you want to go ahead and do something that that a commissioner just simply does, with a handheld video camera, or if you'd like to go ahead and designate funds to have somebody actually come and go ahead and do it, or if somebody would like to go ahead and donate their time to go ahead and do it. Again, that would be sent to the city for review and approval. And again, if approved, it would be aired on channel 10.
Okay. Well, as far as what I'm sort of is my idea and I'm offering is I can this is sort of what I do. So I would love to do something small just to give an idea that becomes some fertilizer for us all to think about with what other things we can do. And so we can have a motion to go ahead and let me do that, or if other people want to participate in it, that's fine too. And as far as a discussion for other ways to use it, I don't know if we can do that today, or you want to just hold that for the future. But I would, I was really hoping to either during this meeting, or maybe it's more appropriate for y'all to think about it. And if you have any other ideas or better ideas of maybe what a pilot might look like, I think I'm open to that. But I don't think we need a budget for this, if I do it. Robin?
Well, I think it's a wonderful idea. I can't see any downside to it, Smitty, at all. And thank you for wanting to do it. And yeah, I think we could all pitch you ideas or whatever. So I would move that we authorize Smitty to take the lead on preparing content for the government channel. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. Then we can discuss it.
I'll second.
Anyone want to? Someone might want to.
I have an amendment.
Amendment. Let's amend it. Let's get the ideas in now before we vote.
Yeah, can we just hold off on that, because I've got something I want to ask as well. But
yeah,
I do support it. I've just got a couple of questions I want to ask, so I'll wait for Smitty to call on me before I say anything.
Yeah, I'll call on everyone before we vote. But Marcy, amendment's a great way to change it. Go ahead.
Okay, I would add that the moving forward, Smitty, with the pilot project is subject to city council approval. So I wouldn't want you to see you put all that effort in and city council, for whatever reason, decides they don't want to move forward with it. Unless they want to see a sample of what it would look like, you know.
Well, you're right. I was thinking that I thought what Luis said there was that the city would certainly have to approve anything that would be put on the Channel 10. But I don't know if they need to.
I don't think that's an amendment to the motion, though. It's just the procedure is that we agree to it, right? We're going to pass it, and then it goes to the city council.
Right.
That sounds pretty clear.
And I seconded the motion.
Well, let's wait. Let's wait. I want to see. I want to hear Nigel, and then we may change it.
And I also had my hand up to make.
I know.
It's made and seconded, and then we discuss and amend, right?
So I'd like to make some comments, Scott, because I would love to work with you on a video of the downtown public art tour. And I would tell you that I'm so happy to hear you say that you like what's in the brochure. But when you actually take a real live public art tour, you will find out that there is so much more that is not written in the brochure. So I'd want you to take a tour with me. There are 2 that are planned coming up, and a 3rd one that I'm in the process of planning, public art tours. And I really want you to be there so that you can hear all the things, all the stories that are not in the brochure. The brochure is 20 pages long if I put all the stories and all the background, so that you can cherry pick what you think will play best. On the video. But applause for this. It's just such an exciting idea. When I read that, as I emailed you, I just was jumping up and down. So I'm so in favor of it.
Well, thank you. What you got, Nigel?
Well, I was going to ask who doesn't want to be on camera, but Bill's just jumped out, so I don't know where he went to. So I guess Bill doesn't want to be on camera. But I think it's nice that we have 2 city council members here. Hi, Susan. Bill's back. There you go. You can hear me. Well done. Your microphone's off, Bill.
I just don't want to be intrusive, Nigel.
Oh, okay. No, mate, we want you here. But we look at things differently on the Arts Council as they would on the City Council. They got a much broader scope that they have to deal with, and this, that, and the other, including probably some legal issues if some people pop into a video, and we don't have permission for that. I mean, you have to have certain things, like we're videoing here, and it's going to be on television. You don't have to have somebody's absolute signature, and of course in public nobody has a right to privacy anyway, so you can videotape, but it's why
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Nigel, but are we discussing the motion on the floor?
Not at the moment. Well, yes, there's just some clarity that I want to get from this, but nonetheless, Luis, the question for you, and Smitty, I apologize, Luis is probably better able to answer it. Are there any costs involved in actually broadcasting this stuff once you have it? And if so, what are they? And would this be on a regular, like 7 o'clock every day, or how do they determine what time everything is on? I mean, I don't go on that channel very much, to be quite honest with you. And that's what Smitty's talking about. It's there and we should be using it for the Arts Council business. But how would the rotation go? And are there any costs involved in actually putting something up once it's been approved by the city, as I'm sure it will be?
Sure, very good questions. To my knowledge, there is no cost. That is the channel that's been designated to the city for a government access channel. There again, there's no cost from the city to go ahead and put up any of those, any of the ads. As far as the rotation, yes, we'd just go ahead and fit it into the rotation, which is currently scheduled. I can work with James Hahn if there are any particular times that the commission would be interested in airing it. I can go ahead and work with James Hahn to see if that time is available so we can go ahead and put it in the rotation.
All right, thank you. And as I understand it, what Smith is suggesting here is that we pick the city gallery to focus on, and we can host that however you want. City collection, and well, you're shaking your head, but I don't know why, but Christine, you can answer that.
It's the public art tour.
Hang on a minute, I haven't finished. So, and also the public art tour led by a docent, presumably yourself, Christine. Smitty, is that correct that you're focusing on those two things, just a yes or a no?
Well, those are great ideas, and that's why I wanted to say that this, for us to consider for all the other things we do, including our collections. But I thought this would be a simple pilot for a couple of reasons. We could do this without shooting any video. I mean, we could take, Christine, right? We could take stills we already have. I want to do a better job than that, but we could just take stills we already have and have some narration behind it, you know.
Yeah.
I'll probably get excited and to make it a little fancier and go out and shoot some actual video of it, but I think it'll probably just be voiceover in the background. It's not going to be, you know, the council running around and, you know, showing it off.
I just want to
have some music.
Yeah.
Of course.
Just want to try and clarify, Smitty, that those are the two things that you were looking at as a pilot to see how this goes, right?
Yeah, well,
okay, so
no, I was just looking at doing an art tour, one of our 4 art tours. What are they called, Christine?
4 public art tours, and the one that I would suggest, although I can take you on all of them, and you can pick the one you want.
Well, just give us the names of them. They're called like East or West or
downtown tour, the downtown tour, the East City tour, the West City tour, and then there's a tour which is part of the downtown tour. It's called Along the Way. So you can span the downtown tour if you want.
Right. Okay, but we're talking about the same thing here. Those are the two basic premises you're talking about, Smitty, right? The arts collection that we have at the city, the Arts Commission has collected over the years, and some sort of tour downtown. Now, if that's the extent of what we're talking about here, this is a no-brainer as long as it's legal, and Louise says it is, and we've got 2 council members here. I'm sure they're not kicking in, so I presume they're quite supportive of this. As long as the city attorney says that we're good to go. So, and you're very fortunate that both Smitty and I make videos. You've probably seen them online. So we don't need any extra people. We have all the equipment we need, including little tiny Bluetooth mics like this that we can attach to whoever's doing the docent, and they go for 100 yards. So, so with that, Robin, I'll thank you for your patience. And Robin, I'll back to you again.
Who's got those little tiny mics? I can use those on the tour. I don't have to lug the great big one.
There's so much that you guys don't know about me and Smitty.
Okay, I am going to talk to the 2 of you because I thought I was going to have to lug the big mic.
I just want to add one small point here. There is not much viewership on this channel.
Not yet.
Right. This is not news, but I was looking at it. But I do think that in the way that media works, by using the channel and using and upping our game on social media and the newspaper, that then it'll help the city too, because there will be more viewership on the channel, and then people can watch wonderful things like the Arts Commission here.
To me, this is just the first step at this moment, not that there haven't been steps previously, in making this commission more valid and more relevant to our wonderful community here. And Smitty, it's a fantastic idea, and I support you 100%.
Thank you. I do, but we're all dreaming about what this could be, you know, but I probably will keep the pilot pretty simple. I mean, there may not even be any necessity to have narration at the art. That could just be all voiceover done in the studio and stuff too. So, so I just don't, you're not going to get a Golden Globe for this pilot anyways. But my hope is that we're going to bring public art to people the way anyone else trying to reach people in the media now are trying to do it. You have to do it multiple places, multiple ways. I mean, we should be, everyone in the city should be proud of the art that we have out there, both in our collections and in our public art and the tours. And I think I see the future where we celebrate the scholarships we might do, or celebrate the mentorships. You know, wouldn't that be a nice documentary to follow a mentor around on one of the arts mentor programs one summer and all too? Those are things that probably need budgets and all too. But
it'd be nice if they knew the art commission existed, right?
Are we calling the
So,
question?
All right.
Yeah.
And
I
Scott,
think-
I would also say that down the road, it's a wonderful platform for arts education for the public.
Yes.
You know, to have
Oh,
speakers
yeah. Oh,
or a
gosh.
panel, or
Yeah.
I mean, you know, to have kids in the student mentor program talk about their experiences.
Mhm.
This is so fabulous.
I think,
What if we had had a drawing class on this, during COVID,
I think that we're at the point where I'll withdraw my amendment and call for a vote on the original motion.
Okay, perfect. So we'll go ahead and do a roll call. And we'll go ahead and begin with Commissioner Chisholm,
Aye.
Commissioner Gerber,
Yes.
Commissioner Golden. I believe that was a yes.
You're muted, Christine.
Yeah.
saying no, no.
Chair Tosher
Yeah, a million
And-
times, yes.
and Commissioner West.
Yes, thank you.
Perfect.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Bravo, Smitty. And the next item we have is Public Art Committee report, and Christine will present that.
I'm off mute. Chair Tosher, with your permission, could we swap D and C, because we have some visitors who are interested in item D?
Okay, yes, absolutely.
That'd be okay? Okay, so I'll move right to,
Does anyone have an objection to that? If not, so ordered. Yes, you can.
okay. All right, so I don't know, Tara, if you can hear me, but we're going to start. Oh, there you are. Hi, Tara. All right, so I would like to start by just giving a little background and a little overview as to what we're talking about. Something I learned recently was that at a commission meeting that we have a lot of public that's watching us, and that they can very easily misunderstand what's being said if we don't give background. So I'm going to give a little background. You have to bear with me. There's a history to what we're going to present, and the history is, it goes back about 3 years, and the Arts Commission adopted a public art project at that time, which was to get a covenant with the owners of the Playhouse and do an art project on the post office facing wall. As you know, there was a flood. The owner sold the property, and it took some time. And the short story of it is that that project, it will not be done. The owners do not want to sign a covenant and do that project. So what we're doing tonight is we are actually looking at what project are we going to do. We've been amassing money purposefully in the Public Art Fund, being very careful not to spend it down because we know public art is expensive. We had put aside $60,000 for the Playhouse project. Now that's released back into the fund. And now we're going to choose another project, hopefully tonight. And James sent out a little while ago a list of the projects that the commission brainstormed at the time. And if you look at that list, large scale projects, it's in your email, you will see that landscape and environmental art was the second choice of the commission at that time. And then it goes on to a sculpture park, solar artwork, waterworks installations, and then projects that are smaller in scope. And normally I would just open it up at this point to discuss, you know, what do we want to do with that list? But tonight I'm actually going to hawk a project that I hope that you all will seriously consider. And that is to make a deal with the climate park that is being developed here in Ojai behind City Hall. There's an 8-acre parcel that connects up to Stewart Canyon. And a climate park is being built. And the city is in a cooperative agreement with Global Green Initiative and also with Thor Heyerdahl. And some of you may recognize the name Thor Heyerdahl from his grandfather, not Thor, Bjorn Heyerdahl. The grandfather is Thor Heyerdahl, and he is the sailor of Kon-Tiki fame. And his grandson Bjorn has built climate parks, 3 climate parks around the world. And he is now coming to Ojai. I see Nigel is holding up the article from the Ojai Monthly. It's also in your packet. Bjorn is coming to Ojai, and he is going to be very figurative in this climate park. So I've been talking to people behind the scenes that are involved in this. Tara and I have talked extensively. I've talked to Bill Wyrick about this project extensively, to Jamie Fleming, and Tara arranged a Zoom meeting with myself and Bjorn Heyerdahl. And the upshot of that meeting was that Bjorn is 100% wanting to partner with the Arts Commission and do a art project that would be educational and further the goals of the climate park that's going to be built in Ojai, and that will be a worldwide attraction here in Ojai. So the next step then is for all of us to vote to accept this as our next public art project and to designate a portion of the public art fund budget, which is there for just this purpose, to be used for the climate park. And that's the overview I want to give you. That's the history that's going on here. I am pushing this project because I think it is just the most incredible opportunity for all of us to do an art project that is also part of environmental awareness and climate awareness. I think it'll make a lasting impression and really say something important about what we on the Arts Commission view as our role as handling art for the city in our community. So I'm just going to go around the table, and any questions that you have, Tara is here to answer questions. Bill Wyrick is here to answer questions. I am so happy to see our city manager, James Vega, here, and he can also answer questions. In your packet, in addition to the article about Bjorn and the climate park, there is also an article about climate art. I'm going to ask Louise to do a little slideshow of what some climate art pieces may look like. Maybe we'll do that before we ask questions. In a minute, Louise, just 1 second. There is, in your email, part of the memorandum that James Vega wrote that Global Green signed with the city. And it actually states in that memorandum of understanding that art should be part of the climate park. So if everyone agrees that we should go forward with this, I'm ready to go forward with it. Luis, would you like to show the slideshow now of what some of the kinds of sculptural art park environmental art pieces? It doesn't mean that what we would do would be anything like this, but it'd give you just a little flavor.
Absolutely. I'll go ahead and bring that up now.
Now, we don't have music, but it would be nice if we did. Maybe.
That's what Smitty and I would do.
Smitty, you can hum.
Here we are.
Play your keyboard.
And here we are. And is everybody able to see my screen? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
So we don't have a proposal of any particular artwork nor artist yet, is that right?
When we're done with the slideshow, I'm going to go around the room and you'll all ask your questions, and one of the three of us that are here to answer them will answer those questions.
Okay.
Okay, so short little video. And Tara, maybe before we move around the room and ask for questions, could you help me in remembering how Bjorn talked about the art project in the park? I think it was the park in Myanmar or South Africa, one of those parks with the stones. Would you like to talk about that just a little bit?
Yeah, I'm not remembering the science behind it as well as I should. But what the concept was is it was a kind of a water catchment and a water shifting into a certain direction. So it was really just taking a shape and a form and transferring the water into another thing. You know, other options are, like Bill Wyrick knows that Rotary designed or put a project forth doing water catchment, doing a big basket-like sculpture, and that captures the water out of the air and brings it down to the earth to water, say, the veggie garden. So I think those images were very beautiful, but there's one thing is function can also be integrated into the artwork. Whether that's harvesting energy, water, helping do like a composting of the soil, and then also just really education through artwork as well. One thing that I didn't quite hear you say, but maybe others are picking up on, is that this program would run just like all your other public art projects, where you guys are really running it and we would just be working collaboratively. So it would go through your same artist submissions, you go through the vote and all of that. Maybe Christine can add more to that.
Right. Thank you, Tara. That was excellent. And I'm glad that Tara added that information, because in talking to Bjorn, the feeling that I got was that he would want the project to have some kind of environmental effect, like water catching, and or it doesn't have to be that. I guess what I want to say is there's no way of knowing ahead of time exactly what this project would look like. And the first step would be, I would be invited to sit in with Tara and Bill and the rest of the climate committee group, the Climate Park Committee group, to begin to learn what it is that is their vision and is their goal in this park, and also to see where on the site plan they would recommend this go. And then from that point on, we would be working with an art consultant, and the art consultant would use that information to write a call to artists. The art consultant would help us choose the best artists to use for this project, and they would be paid to submit an art proposal, because you have to pay artists to submit an art proposal of this scope. They would be paid for that. And then a public art jury would be formed, and there's only one arts commissioner that sits on that public art jury. The operative word there is public. This is all ordinance. This is all in the ordinance. A public art jury would be formed, and I would assume that Climate Park people would be on that public art jury for sure. And they would bring forward to the Arts Commission their, what they feel would be the best fit for the Climate Park. And the Arts Commission has the right to refuse it, or of course to accept it. So that's a very brief overview of how the public art process works. It's very different than how it works with private development public art. That's a whole nother ball of wax. This is the Arts Commission project using the Public Art Fund that is specifically set aside for this purpose to do this. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I think we need to target and set aside $80,000 for this project. Proposals could come in at less. Proposals won't come in at more, because the artists are told up front that that's the ceiling. And then we proceed from there. It's quite complex. Nobody can say what it's going to look like ahead of time, and that's good, because you want artists to have a really free hand. You want to give them the concept and then let them go wild. So I'm going to start with Scott, because you had a question already. So let's start with you. Any questions, comments, feelings?
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Now, I'm sorry, Bjorn's organization is called?
He's working with an organization called Global Green.
Global Green, all right. And Tara, hi.
Hello. You're the only
are
one
you,
I know. Pleasure.
What? Hi. So why are you here?
Which hat am I wearing today? I'm an Ojai local. I was brought on to this team to kind of be the liaison and project manager to represent Ojai, and coordinate between Global Green, the city, Bjorn, for the Climate Park.
Okay. So
And
are you here
can I weigh in on that, Smitty? Because James might want to be more specific. We took action Tuesday night to expand Tara's role in terms of kind of an information clearinghouse collaboration coordinator. James, did you want to articulate that better than me? for the campus behind City Hall.
I was totally just trying to lurk on this meeting, but no, I think you said
Well,
it right.
Smitty asked a particular question, and,
Yeah.
the council's direction was for Tara and James to work out a specific, somewhat expanded MOU that we already have in place.
Yeah, and the quick background I'll give is people probably heard bits and pieces of this, but the city, right before COVID, we had created a position that was going to manage events and coordinate things like volunteer events and things like that. And due to COVID, it was one of many positions that were put on hold. So we are getting buy-in. And so the city council authorized me to reach out to Tara, and we'll be doing so in coming weeks to enter into an MOU to provide some volunteer help. And so, we'll be working closely on the whole campus, including the climate park. So.
Okay, good. So Tara's representing the city.
Yep.
Good. Okay, nice. Welcome. Great. And the timing, what would it look like? Is that this year or next year? Or?
I think the timing for the Arts Commission, I'll let Tara and Bill and James talk about timing for the city. This would begin with my learning by attending meetings, what it is that the park, what the vision is, what the overall vision is, what Bjorn would see as appropriate, what the site would be that this would happen. Now, that's going to take some time. Tara will jump in here, but I would say months from now before that stage is completed. And probably a couple years, maybe 2 to 3 years before we actually have an installation. But that's the way it goes with public art. It takes a long time, which is why I'm proposing also to dedicate a certain amount of public art funds to it, so that as time goes on, we don't somehow lose those funds with smaller projects. We are still going to have money that comes into the public art fund, but we should dedicate money, because this is such an important thing if we all decide we want to do this. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and then so the artist is, we don't even know who the artist is yet.
Oh, no.
And so what we're going to be considering here is that let's not miss this opportunity to take some resources that we have for public art and make sure we have a presence in the garden, I'm sorry, what'd you call it, a climate garden? Climate park.
But I like Garden of Eden. Well said. That's exactly right, Smitty. Well said.
That's all I got.
To quickly
go ahead. I'd like to hear from Tara.
Really quick about climate park. Sometimes we throw this word around, we're going to build a climate park. Climate park itself is more of like a restoration and maybe helping, you're not going to throw a design at it that's going to really change things dramatically. It's very similar to regenerative agriculture or permaculture. It's of the same suit. So even the project that's happening down in Stewart Canyon Creek is very much in line right now with what a climate park is. The idea of a climate park also is it doesn't have a boundary or a border, in the sense that we really want to bring health and wellness to our land and be good stewards of the land. So I just want to make sure we're not coming in and bulldozing anything, and that
right.
really understood.
Thank you.
Could I ask for privilege to read the Global Green definition of climate park on their website? Is that okay, Marcy? Okay.
Absolutely.
This is the Global Green website. Climate parks. A climate park is a fully inclusive, integrated biospheric program for any given site that ensures sustainability on all levels. The climate park model meets and surpasses all social, economic, environmental, architectural, and agroecological international standards. It is self-sufficient in terms of energy, water, and food security, and is economically sustainable.
Thank you, Bill. And if you're done, Smitty, I see Robin's hand up, and I would go to her next. Is that okay?
Yeah, great. And the functional idea just is a great idea, Tara. That's the only thing I want to add. That's a great idea. I see beautiful opportunity for this to be something more than just a, another,
in a park.
another bird statue or something.
Right,
Yeah, okay.
right. Yeah, Rob,
Thanks, Christine. Well, I just wanted to clarify. So the climate park, my understanding is that all the money for that is being brought in through Global Green,
Currently,
correct?
yes.
Okay. So our money will be intact in the sense that it's all going to be used toward whatever the art
yes.
is that we come up with, and the
Yes, and I'll break it down just really basic for you, Robin. We have to pay for an art consultant. That's a requirement of the ordinance. Sometimes there's travel expenses for the artist. There's supplies, material. It's a breakdown of expenses.
Yeah.
Right.
I get that. I know that the climate park also needs money. So I just was, and I reread the ordinance, Christine, I did. So that's, I just want to be sure that we're really clear with everybody that the public art fund is for the public art. So I think absolutely it's a great idea to put something there. I would also say that maybe at the front end, and we don't have a motion on the floor, but if we do, in terms of a public art consultant, which, as you say, is required, we have in town here an institute, the Tirasol Institute. I happen to sit on the board, and they have partnered with the Land Art Generator, which I showed you all. Remember when we were talking a couple meetings ago about what is environmental art, and particularly, Smitty, I think you were there, what is environmental art that makes change, that makes environmental change? Because Land Art Generator is all about actually using the art to make change. And I can share that again with everyone. So I'm just wondering if, as you, Christine, and I assume maybe Nigel too, I don't know, are connecting and collaborating to understand what the climate park is, whether it might make sense to bring in the consultant early in this case so they'll also really understand, since this is such a new concept. And I'd love to see it be Tirasol Institute, because what they're doing is really very cutting edge. And Marcy and Bill were on a very, very preliminary meeting where they heard what they're doing, and I think they were pretty excited about it too, but they could come in and talk to all of us. So I just like to pitch that, you might want to think about getting them in. And one more thing I would say is, I wonder if we don't also want to spend more of the fund on this.
Yeah. Let me respond to that. I think that's fabulous. Tirasol might be able to be involved. What will happen is we have a list of our consultants, and we would add them to that list. And there's a letter that I worked on when I was thinking we were going to do the Playhouse, which is a letter for art consultants to send us information specific to a project. What's their experience? What can they offer? This is what we're looking for. So there's a letter in the works that would go out to art consultants and go out to Tirasol. And the whole commission will choose who the art consultant is. The art consultant, one of the primary things we look for is their familiarity with the art ordinance. So the fact that you're on the board of that and you have that familiarity is a plus. Mm-hmm. So it may very well be that would be the organization that would work as the art consultant. They really are the people who are handling what, if we had an art department in the city, the art department of the city would be handled. They're coordinating between Luis and me and city council and Tara. We need someone who can just coordinate all that and coordinate the artists, be on site when it's going up, make sure that it's all, that's what they do. Yeah. So I love what you're saying. I love your idea, and I love that you're supporting this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I would just say, in terms of that letter, then again, it just seems like it would be very useful for the consultant as early as possible.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I think after probably one or two meetings, I get my bearings and get the feel of how it's working. Of course. We want to bring that person in right away. I totally agree with you. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We're on the same page on this without a question. So if you're done, I'll move on to any comments from Nigel, and then Marcy, when Nigel is done, your comments.
Nigel,
All right, Nigel, you have to come off mute.
You know, when you're off mute so long, you kind of forget that it's not there, despite the fact that it's right in your face and it says you're on mute. So I apologize. I've got a heap of things to say, but I know that I'm loquacious typically, so I'll try and boil these down to some bullet points. Robin, you're right. I'm on the Public Art Committee, but I've come to this a little bit late. And so I'm learning about it at the same speed as everybody else. But I'll tell you, the first thing that was on my list was that I want to hear what Robin has to say. And I've heard it now. So thanks for that, because you just bring so much to that. The second thing is I want to hear Tara give us a pitch. I've heard Christine give us a pitch. I want to hear Tara give us a pitch. And I've also got down here, and I'll read it. But Tara, you're an inspiration to everybody. You absolutely are. You're an incredible individual, and what a role model you are. And I'm so glad that you're involved in this. And I can't believe that Smitty doesn't even know who you are. It's ridiculous. You're both around town. So that's that done. I was traveling through Mexico and I came across this bike sculpture, and it was just a heap of bikes that somebody had put together to create this incredible sculpture that you would never, ever think of. It was huge. I can't even begin to tell you how big this thing was. And you didn't even know it was bikes at the start. And so artists do these remarkable, remarkable things. And this climate park thing, it's expensive. Let's not get away from that. But I cannot think of a better use of our funds than to create this type of environment in our city. We claim to be a city of arts. Let's be that. Not just theatre, not just thing. Let's just take this thing a little bit further and let's just stretch it out. I love the mural on the side of the Playhouse. What a wall that is. Maybe we can revisit that in a few years. But this thing, to me, it just really grabs me and says, look, here we are. It says to the world, here we are. We're doing this. We want to be an environmental city. We want to be an artistic community. And this just screams that. What else have I got? So I've got an ongoing cost question. What are the ongoing costs and who's responsible for that? I've got Robin brought it up as well, is I don't think 80,000 is enough. I think that we should boost that up possibly to 100,000, because from a different situation, I have gone through minutes for a decade of this Arts Commission, and I have come across things that have had limits on them, and I'm talking specifically about the mural on the wall. And there was a limit that would not be relevant 8 years later to what that limit was, and people weren't aware of that, but I was, because I just read it. So I think if we look at this as a long-term project, and clearly it is, we need to budget in some money that is unexpected, and also budget in for inflation. And I don't see that 80 grand is enough for this, having read a little bit about it over the previous weeks. I would rather have more money there and have a bit saved that we can use in a different way than have to start scrambling around and doing that. And I know that we have most of that money already set aside for public art. So that's that there. With regard to the structure itself, I was glad, Tara, to hear you say that things aren't going to get changed around. There's no borders on it. But my comment before you said that, so it may be relevant now, is that it would be important to me that it represents our community and our environment, that it speaks to that, and parts of what Ojai is and what we want Ojai to be is reflected strongly in that, and not just our environment, but the Chumash history of this area as well. I think that's absolutely critical. I mean, I really am rather ignorant about it. I'm sad to say, but the truth is that we are living in territory that belonged to Native Americans, and in my opinion, it still is, and that we should honor that, whether it's in an architectural design or particular shapes or styles that honor that community. So that would be very important to me. Could call it the Garden of the Valley of the Moon if you want to. So I think I'll probably, let me just have a quick look at my notes here and make it connected to the relevant to the Valley of the Moon. Natural Ojai, Tara, you're an inspiration. Ongoing costs, I've got that. 80,000 in enough. Robin's awesome. Bicycles in Mexico. Yeah, I would also like to see an early intervention by somebody just sitting literally in front of us, hopefully in person, who can just walk us through this entire thing. And so that, I think, is about that. And by the way, the background I've got here is Brazil. Welcome to Brazil. This is Florianopolis in the background that I was in a few months ago. So if you've never been to southern Brazil, that's behind me. So
beautiful.
That's me. I hope you got it. I want to hear Tara ask for this. I've heard her explain some things, but I want to know why this is important to you, right? I know why it's important to Christine. I know why I think it'd be awesome. I've heard from Robin, but I want to know what you think this will bring to our community. Oh, and other thing, I did have a note here. Bill and Sousa, hope you're listening. If we're going to do this, the city better organize some signposts, not just one, a bunch of signposts that tell people where the hell it is, because we have so much art in this city and nobody even knows. So for me, that would be, all of this is contingent upon the city saying, we're going to signpost this and we're going to make sure that people know where it is and it's advertised. All right, I'm done.
Okay, what a fabulous idea. Can I go to Marcy and then Tara, after Marcy is done, maybe you can answer Nigel's question about, you know, why this would be important to you. And I'm not going to address right now both Robin and Nigel saying, you know, 80,000 might not be enough. Let me address that at the end, because it does need to be addressed. But I'd like to get Marcy's comments, then move to Tara, and then I'll talk about the money. So Marcy.
Yeah. Well, all of the comments I can't disagree with. I second everything, but I'm wondering if it's envisioned that Global Green or maybe some other organizations will contribute a piece of the environmental regenerative artwork too, so it becomes kind of a sculpture regenerative park as well. Because I think when you have multiple sculptures or multiple pieces of art in an environment like that, that complements the environment and can work together somehow, I think they could all build upon each other and make it even more of a destination. I'm not saying the Arts Commission would fund all of that. That would be their gig. We would just be sensitive to what they're doing and hopefully work with what they're doing to complement it, to create some overall kind of theme going on there. Maybe one of the pieces can deal with water catchment. One of the other pieces can deal with generating power from water flowing, or I don't know, something can capture something. I don't know how sunny it gets in there, but maybe something solar related that we could power some lighting at Libby Bowl. I mean, I don't know, but anyway, so I think if that's in the works, if that has been contemplated, I'd love to know about that, and that's probably a question for Tara.
It is. And Tara, do you want to answer Nigel's question? What does this mean to you to add art to the climate park? And then Marcy's question about, are there other organizations that might possibly also throw a chip in and say, we want to do a piece of art there as well?
Yeah, I wish I didn't necessarily prepare a pitch or anything. Just kind of showed up myself tonight. But I think the grounding thing for me in this relationship is art can really be an experience and an education, a way to, you go and you're in nature and you have an experience, but you may not. There's an experience you can create through artwork to get to one subject matter or two subject matters, like water or energy generation. I think that for me, personally, selfishly, art has always been a background of mine. I picked up a hammer when I was 3. I've been building sculpture and working with the land. The first thing I did was made little mud cutouts and stored little nuts in little shelves. And to me, that was artwork. The last 5 years before I moved back to Ojai, I worked for all these art and music festivals. So I built large art sculptures, which included a 35-foot spinning caterpillar that you had to go up and hold with 10 other people to spin it around, which created community and activity. For me, art is, my coined term is evolutionary play. If we stop moving, I think we start deteriorating. We start kind of dying off. So artwork is a way to not only move our physical body, but also move our minds and put thoughts that weren't necessarily there before, or to stimulate further thoughts that are there. There's so many different directions to go. I feel like this concept also started before, say, Global Green and the Climate Park came in. So I feel like this is much bigger than just this climate park. You know, Christine and I have been talking about this since I was the demonstration garden manager 3 years ago. Robin, I don't know if you were part of this conversation, but I was just looking at old emails from our late friend Tom Ash. You know, it's art is education. It's a way to really, have people understand things in a deeper or even in a simplified way. I don't know, that's just kind of my musings. I sometimes get a little nervous when I don't have like written down exactly why. But I think it's, we're in a place in our global experience that having a place to move us towards a more sustainable, equitable, and balanced environment. Environment is where you're each sitting. My first study was interior design. That is an environment. Going outside in nature is an environment. Think about what you're sitting in. Is your chair telling you how to sit, or are you telling the chair how you want to sit? We create space, which then controls the environment, whether we like it or not. So we have an opportunity to use artwork in a more holistic mindset through this. You're muted, Nigel.
And do you want to add anything?
How many of these parks are around?
Organizations that might want to throw art into the park, and how that would be handled, and if that would in any way interfere with what we are asking?
I mean, yes and no. And Nigel, I'll get back to you. I'm not sure what you said, but I'll come to you next.
Me neither.
The answer could be yes. At this point, we the Climate Park have been strictly in a fundraising phase. Of course, like everybody else, COVID delayed quite a bit. Our goal is to raise $250,000 for the design process. Once we've hit that number, or maybe we're going to phase it out a little bit, we will be putting more of a plan together. The questions I'd like to turn back to you is, do you want a sculpture garden as City Hall campus? Or do you want to preserve the natural state that is there? Again, this is me not answering the question. I want you guys to think about it. I'd love for you to go walk back there and experience it. I'd love to take anybody on a tour. If you walk down there, especially when you get down in the ravine, it is like going to Yosemite. It is our state park. It's our city park. So I wouldn't want to incorporate something so man-made it takes that away. That is 100% my personal opinion.
Well, I think,
Sarah, I want to comment back on that, because we're not voting on doing a sculpture park. That is not the vision. That is not what you and Bjorn and I talked about, not at all. And I don't think that's what Marcy meant when she was talking about would other organizations want to be doing some art there. I think it was, would there be a conflict if not Global Green, but if some other organization wanted to do something? And that, from my conversations with you, the answer you gave me when you and I talked was, no, it wouldn't be a conflict. But this is a piece that would be very much the vision of Bjorn and Global Green and the Climate Park Committee, and that we would be fitting to that vision. Yeah. And we would be amenable to a site chosen by you guys, not us. So no, not a sculpture park. That's not what I'm presenting to the commission to vote on at all. And I saw that Robin, I'm sorry, Robin, I think.
Well, I just think that this would all be more clear if we had a motion on the floor. And I think, can I take a stab at it?
Sure.
Then we really know what we're going to be voting on and what we're actually talking about.
Sure.
I think what we're talking about, I would make the motion that
Yeah.
we agree conceptually to the idea that we're going to take a minimum of $80,000 of the public art fund money to use for some project within the climate park. And I don't think we're prepared to define it any further than that. So that's my
perfect. That is so perfect.
Yeah, I'll second that, and I couldn't be in more agreement, because I'm sitting here not understanding exactly what we're voting on with regard to how something looks at the end, and that's disturbing to me when you're talking about this amount of money. So Robin's defined it exactly the way it should be, and that we can withdraw that at some point if we don't like what's going on. But I think that's about as far as we can go.
I would clarify that, saying art project.
okay.
It means public art projects. You know, just add those words in there. Did you get that, Louise, that motion?
I did, yes.
Thank you, Marcy.
Any other discussion about the motion, or do we
I
want to
just
go
have
back?
one more question, and I think it's already been answered, and I may even know the answer myself. Tara, how many of these parks exist?
Climate parks?
Yeah.
In the US, we are #1.
Right. No, how many of these parks exist? I think the answer is 5.
In the world, yes.
Yes. Okay. 5. So
Yeah, we're the first one. The 7. Okay.
Okay. So
yeah, we're the first one in the United States.
All right. So what I would add before we vote on Robin's motion, and I'll second that, is that we need to make a big deal out of this, a very big deal. We need to be inviting global leaders into town. We need to be thinking about how we accommodate those people to actually see what is going on in this small community and what small communities can do. And just to touch on what Christine mentioned earlier on about art departments, Ojai doesn't have one. We're it. It's us.
I know.
So,
and I will just say, Nigel, if we build it, they will come.
Well, you know that guy happens to live in town, right? You know that scene in the movie?
He lives in town. Okay, well, we won't go there now. All right, so we have a motion on the floor. Nigel had a couple comments. Before we take a vote, I do need to ask if anyone else wants to say anything. And if not, Bill does. But Bill, you're not a voting member.
No, but you asked if you said anybody.
Yeah, I did. And Bill, you can always speak.
I just wanted to say, I would like to enter into the minutes, Louise, a reference website address for anybody that's reading the minutes that wants to click on www.globalgreen.org, and you click on the climate park link, and then if you click on that link, it goes to Ojai specifically, and a long write-up on Ojai, and there's even a donation link for the already put in on this website for the climate park Ojai. So I just thought I'd put that in the minutes.
Thank you. That has been received and will be added into the minutes.
All right.
Susan, you had your hand up. Susan.
Okay.
Alarming issues with how the election was handled, and those problems.
Okay, who did that?
This was a disembodied voice from outer space. Susan.
I am so loving this whole conversation, and I thought the way Tara described what a climate park is, it was very concise. I love
understandably led to the crisis of confidence in the ballot box here in Georgia.
Oh, no.
Somebody's got another window open on their computer.
Sorry about that. We'll go ahead and move forward. I believe I muted that source there, so we'll go ahead and move forward.
It was Louise.
So when Louise was showing those slides rather quickly, I was actually wishing, I didn't say anything, but I was wishing I could see them, have a better look, because I think myself and many people in the community, we don't really know what what your what your vision is for art there. And I was really relieved that it's not, something more conventional and static, the way that you described it. I got very excited about it. But I saw a lot of things made out of natural material. And there are people, artists in Ojai, who are really, really good at that. And so I guess my question is, where are those slides
Channel 10, Susan.
They're going to be on Channel 10. I mean, they should be available to the public, the slides.
All right, so Susan,
website.
two things I'll say about that. One, Luis can send you that slideshow.
Yes.
And he will. But I also want to caution that if we put something out there like that, that a lot of people will think that's what we're doing. And we're not necessarily doing anything that looks anything like that. So I would really hold back at this point. And for your use, absolutely. But let's hold back, because before, it's like what Nigel was saying, we really have no idea what this is going to look like. It's going to unfold. It's going to be, what's that word I'm searching for? Robin, you know the word I'm searching for.
Organic.
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 Organic. It's going to be organic. It's going to be something. Yes. And then what Nigel also was saying about, and we don't even know what it's going to look like, and yet we're going to be asked to vote on it. Yes, you will. You will have a role in the artists that are asked to submit proposals. The public art jury will vet those proposals. It comes back to the Arts Commission for the final vote. And we trust our public art juries, just like we did for the paint box projects. And we get the most incredible proposals from artists when we do a project like this. We haven't done a lot of them, but the ones that we have done, for example, Fun for All at Libby Park went through this process. Trimp and Arch went through this process. The Paint Box Project went through this process. This will be our fourth public art project that goes through this process. But I want to also say that there is no formula that doesn't bend and sway. One thing I've learned over the years is that everything we do has its little turns and twists and corners, which is why, sorry, you want me there, because I know what the twists and the corners are. And then to bring in, as Robin said, an art consultant who can help locate artists who are adept at this kind of thing. And Susie, you're right. We have artists like this right here in Ojai, and they certainly would be invited, hopefully, because we also all have to decide what kind of a competition it's going to be. And there are three different kinds of competitions. An unlimited competition, which goes out all over the world. A limited competition, which is usually a geographic limitation, not always. Sometimes it's materials, sometimes it's both. And then selecting an artist ourselves, which we don't recommend because we want a lot of input from a lot of people into this process and a lot of artists. We want to see what artists will come up with. But I'm going into way too much detail, and I apologize for that. Susan,
one other thing. So at this point, you don't even know if it's going to be a designated area or things scattered all over the park, right? You don't know. All that is still unknown.
Well, I think we could assume it'll be an area and not scattered all over the park, because it's going to be a piece. It'll be a piece of public art, one. Yeah. I doubt it'll be scattered. I mean, it's possible, but I doubt it.
But and none of this would keep someone, say Dennis Shives, from doing something organic in the community garden. It doesn't even have to be part of that, but like a local artist might want to come and make a rock sculpture or something like that. Apart from this.
So I think what you're asking is this. Could a local artist just come and erect some kind of a sculpture or installation at the Climate Park apart from the Arts Commission public art process? That's a question for Bill and Tara and James and those folks to answer.
Yeah. And some people are already doing that anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll be quiet.
Things like that do happen. Sometimes it's called graffiti art.
And actually, while you're talking about that, you mentioned Dennis, and it's very apropos because he is on the list of the Lifetime Achievement Awardee nominees this year. And when you were talking about that, then that was the gentleman that was in my mind that above anybody else in this community could really potentially contribute to that term.
Yeah,
we have a number of them actually here.
Christine, did you convey everything you wanted to convey? Maybe we should take our vote.
Are we ready to take a vote? I do also want to add one thing before we do that, Well, you know what? I can do that after the vote. Like, yeah, let's go ahead and do a roll call vote if no one else has anything to say, and then I'll add that.
Do we remember the motion?
You want to read it, Louise?
Can you read
Yeah.
the motion back, Louise? Please?
Absolutely. It is to go ahead and move forward with the project at the climate park with a minimum amount of $80,000 as stated by Commissioner Gerber.
Art, and we changed it to
Public art project. My apology.
Right.
So we'll go ahead and begin with Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Chisholm,
Aye.
Commissioner Golden,
Yes.
Chair Tosher,
Yes.
and Commissioner Gerber.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, now at this point, I'm really restraining myself from getting up and doing a happy dance.
Oh, do it. Do it.
Pushing my chair out of the way. And I mean, the energy soaring through me right now. I just want to get up and do a dance. Thank you, everybody. I'm so excited about this. I cannot wait to sink my teeth into this. I promise you something. You will all be involved as much as you want to be, and I will keep you informed, and I will seek out your counsel and your advice along the way. This is our project, all of us, including whoever the 2 new members will be. So that's a pledge I'm making to you. Communicate with me, email me if you have ideas, more questions. I'm so totally open to this being collaborative. Okay, I want to add one more thing, which James, if you're still listening, I have asked, I've talked to Bill Wyrick and made a suggestion, which I hope is something you would agree to, which is to add an addendum to the memorandum of understanding about the climate park that notes that the Arts Commission has voted and accepted to do a public art project at the climate park. I just think it's in our interest to have this written somewhere because it is going to take a lot of time and I don't want it to get lost as things sometimes do. What do you mean they're doing a project? Who said that? So I just wanted to mention that. You don't have to respond or anything, but that would be my desire. And I think that probably the rest of the commissioners would agree that that's a good idea.
We'll put some thought into how we can best do that. I'll follow up with you.
What? Sorry.
I said we'll put some thought into how we can best reflect that, and I'll
Yeah.
follow up with you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's all I'm asking for.
Christine is big on institutional memory.
Yes, my brain is it. Tara, you're more than welcome to stay, as are you, Bill. But I think probably Marcy is going to have us move on.
We are moving on.
Thank you guys for
Tara,
having me.
so much.
Come down to the
Yes.
restoration
And
project.
by the way, those of you that don't know Tara, her business card says human multi-tool.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
she is.
And you spoke beautifully, Tara, beautifully.
Thanks. I have to rewatch that because I,
Oh, no.
fantastic.
You're great.
For the record, I don't think Tara is a tool.
And all
Okay.
the tools. Anyway, I do want to invite you guys to come visit and come to the restoration project Saturday, 9 to 12. It's the last volunteer day. It's a really good project. And I'd love to walk the property with any and all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara. 9 to 12 this Saturday.
Thanks, Tara. Christine, you want to continue with the
Yeah.
public art report?
Yeah, it's me again, guys. Sorry. But we'll go fast and it won't all be me because I'm going to call first on, I'm still trying to remember to call you Smitty. I knew Smitty when he was Scott. So I always say Scott. When I say Scott, I mean Smitty. I'm working on it. Smitty, I asked Luis if he would have the photographs that you took of the skate park wheel and the fountain. And I thought we could show those and you might want to tell everybody what you're working on.
Oh, happy to.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me go ahead and bring those up here. And here we are.
This is a guardian angel project, just so you all know. I remember I asked everybody if you wanted to be a guardian angel, and Smitty said he would. And these are the 2 projects I asked him to look into.
Perfect. Is everybody able to see my screen? Yes. Okay.
Can you make
Yeah.
can you make the pictures the whole screen? Will any one of them?
I think this is the biggest I can make it. Let me go ahead and see one other option.
If you can't, that's okay.
Yeah, I think that's the
Well,
biggest
just
I can go.
put
for.
up put up skate wheel 3. Can you just like double click on that or something?
That one there?
Skate wheel 3. I'm just seeing your folder.
Oh, apologize. Let me go ahead and see here.
Yeah, you don't want to show us your folder, Luis.
No. Let me go ahead.
Click on that one that says videos.
Bear with me one moment, please.
Absolutely. Take your time.
So I talked to Ted Gall, who was the artist on this project, and he had actually acquired this wheel, which he thinks was a piece of oil field machinery, through Chris. Trying to think of it. There we are.
Are you able?
It's
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, those look good. You want just that one's that's an overlook. So it's right at the skate park, and Christine told me to take a look and see what it needed. And as you can see, we have more detail, but there's a sticker there that needs taken off. The paint is kind of faded. Now this is where there's some gouges in there. The wheel itself has a what do they call powder coat and then paint on it. And we found the original color, and Ted still thinks that's a good color for what's going on there. Big Red Roller, is the name of it.
Like
Powder coated steel. And the only other damage we saw was on the back. There was some graffiti. I was curious. I didn't ask Ted. Do you know there's these little like grommel? What do they call those little? There's holes in the base. I don't know if that was intended to hold lights or put a fence around it or what that was. Does anyone know?
No. The installation really evolved, in my opinion, in a not a happy way. Originally, Ted had created a complex scaffolding, and the skate wheel itself was up quite high, and there was seating around the base of it. But the police department nixed it because they said they would not be able to see around it to monitor what was going on at the skate park. And they also were concerned that skateboarders would try to skate on the seats and on the different platforms. It was it made such a statement when the original design, but it had to get pared down to just being the wheel on this platform. So maybe the holes had something to do with that. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's really cool and all. Luis has some to-dos on this. He was going to dig up some of the budget, see who painted it, and he'll have. I don't know if we're ready to report on that yet, but do you want to just look at the other one now?
Yeah, sure.
Can I just say something about that very quickly?
Yeah.
Firstly, apparently the police department aren't paying any attention to it, otherwise there wouldn't be graffiti on it in the first place. And secondly, Luis, we should send that picture with the graffiti on it to the police department, because they will be able to identify who did it by that signature. So
it said "Open the Jester," I think is what it said.
Yeah, can we? Would you like to make that a motion, Smitty? But seriously, Luis, they'll be able to identify where that came from and which group it belongs to, and I think that's important information for us to know too.
All right, you want to move on then to the trio.
Yeah, I went over to Topa Winery has. I'm sorry, Topa Mountain Winery, they're called. They have a fountain that was done by the Tile folks too, and it's currently. Maybe is there an overview one, Luis? Dig around here for what the thing looks like. It's not currently on the tour brochure on the tour website.
Unfortunately, I don't have an overview one. Seems like the ones that are up close.
Okay.
Here.
So it's not operational right now, but the equipment is there, and it was leave this one. It was spouting water. They said on the outside of the fountain, and so it looks like they took vice grips to it or something, just squished the copper there too. They're supposed to have this thing going, so we're going to talk to but they're shut down right now. Because of I say they're shut down. They do. I think they may be open now, but they were just doing pickup orders for the last year because of COVID and everything. But they claim it's operational and everything there works. But this is the one little thing that maybe needs to be done properly, or have the artist take a look at it and see how it can be remedied so it's both functional and
Do you want to show the
doesn't look
scale,
like.
the picture with the scaling on the tiles, Louise?
Our water is hard, so
Yeah,
when you let it evaporate,
and this contraption here on the bottom of the, they were asked to please work with the artists to figure out a housing for that, so it wouldn't just be lying there. The trough itself is quite, it's not real deep, and so when you're looking at that fountain, you see all that. It's not like it's way, way down below. The reason Smitty mentioned that this is not on the public art tour is because of this, because we have tried to work with the owner, and he is obligated to keep this working and keep it in shape. And he will do something right after we talk with him, and then it goes into this kind of disrepair and it gets shut off, or it's actually used as a table base for events where there are cardboard boxes stacked up all around it, and you don't even know there's a piece of public art there. So
can I ask exactly where this is?
yes, it's
when
at
you're walking,
Mountain Winery. It's called the Tree of Life.
But where is it? On that
when you're walking in the door that faces Ojai Ave, it's okay. There's an entrance. Most people come in the back, but there's a front entrance that.
Yeah, I know. You got big doors.
Yeah, face the school there. Face the Ojai Ave. So you're heading east, and it's just to the left of the door on the outside of the building.
Why wouldn't they want it beautiful?
Well,
so this is what the Arts Commission is here for, right?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
So this is a disgrace.
It is.
And it needs to be fixed.
Yes.
It needs to be fixed yesterday. They need to understand, and we all know Larry, I love Larry, but they need to understand that this is a part of city property, and they have a responsibility, and they know they have a responsibility to keep this in good functional working order.
And they are not supposed to have turned it off because of order pickup only. It's supposed to be on by ordinance, 8 hours a day.
For me, this is a priority, that it needs to get back on the City Arts Tour.
Smitty, do you want to invite Nigel to help you on your Guardian Angel project?
There, I can handle it. I think this is just a good overview for everyone to volunteer to be a guardian angel for a piece of public art, and I think if each of us has the ability to communicate to these owners, Luis is digging up the actual agreement. I wanted to see what he actually agreed to in writing, so that we can have a effective discussion. But we all, but this isn't going to be the only one.
I think Smith's decision to do it on his own is a good one.
I was going to suggest, excuse me, Nigel, that whoever's doing it does get the agreement.
Yeah.
That's really key, to have the actual written agreement.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Robin. And by the way, if you need those things, you also can get a hard copy of those from me. I have complete files behind me on all the projects that have happened since I became chair of the Public Art Committee. So I have those agreements here in a folder, and we don't have to bother Luis with it. Just reach out to me if you're looking for those things, and I will make a copy and get a copy to you, a hard copy to you.
He just did.
Lightens the load on Luis a little bit, and it's also very fast. I'll do it for you, lickety split. So
okay, Luis, I think I'm really
Scott, part of that agreement is that the ordinance is followed, and it states in the ordinance that it has to be running 8 hours a day. That's in the public art ordinance agreement. So there's the agreement with him, but there's also that he's following the public art ordinance. This was a
I'll see what you agreed to, and we'll get that thing all sparkly and pretty.
Can I just say, just despite my gruff exterior, I am a business guy, and I do know that certainly over the last year or so, there's been a lot of competing interests, and one of them is keeping your damn business open. And so certain things like this may fall by the wayside, and that's fine. We understand that, and so we have to be sympathetic about that also. However, we also have a responsibility to keep up. So Smitty, I'd just encourage you to be sympathetic as you approach Larry on that and see what we can do. But obviously knowledge is power, right? So you need to have your weapons with you when you're walking, and then just understand that business, and you know as well as anybody that it's really hard right now for people.
And once it's all shiny and working correctly, we will add it to the public art tour, the one online. We can add that piece to the public art tour online. And we can also add it to your fabulous idea, Channel 10.
All right.
But we're not going to
Maybe we'll fill it with wine.
And it's never been working right.
Well,
it
just brings up an interesting point that Smitty, this would be a great project for Channel 10 to see what it was, what it is, and how we as a commission get it back to where it is, to give it back to our community.
Great. Christine, do you want to move us along?
I will move us along. These guys, they just talk, don't they? Nigel, very briefly, do you want to tell everybody what's happening with the Matilaha Poppy Fountain plaque?
To my knowledge, nothing at this moment, short of the fact that there was an issue with nobody knows what it is. And I had a business outside there for 7 years. And I maybe saw the plaque once when somebody told me where it was, then I forgot because it's in such an out of the way place. I contacted Greg and the city to ask if we could move that plaque to be more visible. I've seen thousands of people over the years take pictures of it, stand on it, pose next to it, and I've told them what it is, and none of them know. So the part of the deal with that particular piece of art was that the artist would not allow a plaque to be on it. They wanted it separated from, and I understand that. No issue with that. So my thought was that we stick it on the floor in front of it or behind it or by the side of it. So at least people can see a plaque, essentially put the plaque into the ground, right? So you can see it. So I contacted the city. The city contacted Luis. He agreed to it. So myself and Christine and whomever else is interested can go down and decide where we want that plaque.
Marcy, the Public Art Committee, Marcy will be there.
Yeah, and any of you, please come. James, if you want to come down and kick in on that too, feel free. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to implant that thing in the ground at the right place, and the city is going to do it for us. And that's the end of that. Then people will actually know what the heck they're looking at, which I think is fabulous because now that pop is working, it'll work perfectly. People know what it is, they can see what it is, and the lights are shining. So that's what's going on with the Matilaha Poppy Fountain. I will contact Greg next week. He is incredibly overwhelmed at the moment, given that he's got a new office in City Hall now. But we'll get him down there. It'll be a 10-minute deal. All right.
All right, fabulous. And it might not have to be Greg, it also can also be
Miguel.
Yeah, and thank you, Nigel, for working, and thank you, Scott, for working on these projects. These are things that have just been impossible for me to handle along with everything else because I am the walking, talking art department for the city of Ojai, public art department for the city of Ojai. And any help I can get, I'm so grateful and happy to get it. And for the public to know that we're talking about the Matilaha Poppy Fountain in the Arcade Plaza, and the plaque currently is on the side wall of what used to be Busy Babe Salon and is now something else, hair salon. What's it called? Glow West, right? That's where the plaque is, and it's way far away from the fountain. So that's for the public to know what we're talking about. The other Guardian Angel projects, which we won't go into a whole lot of detail, but we are actively working, or I am actively working with the Land Conservancy at this point, and I'll be communicating, Luis, with you on what I've learned about the ripped up signs at Clough Vista Park. And the plants at Clough Vista Park really need to be the original native plants because that's an award-winning park, and it's an award-winning park for its native plants. So I think there's a bunch of work to do at Clough Vista Park, including making sure that the light is fully operational at the East End Guardian Spirit. So all that's going on. El Roblar is on our radar. They are doing a whole nother, they're going to qualify for public art, the city thinks, and Luis will talk more about that when he gets to his report. I'll let that go for now. thank you. I know I took a lot of time tonight, but I think the climate park discussion was worth the time. So thanks everybody for your attention. I so appreciate it.
I just want a couple of sentences about the Trimp and Arch, Christine.
Oh, sure.
The
I'm
Trimp
sorry.
and Arch.
Yes.
The
Darcy.
city is going to buy the 10 plants that are required. The city already owns the rocks. And this is going to come from the city's maintenance budget, landscaping maintenance budget.
The
So,
public art, the Parks Fund.
Parks Fund. Okay, there you go. So, and it's going to be no more than $300. So that will hopefully be happening in a few weeks. The plants are ordered, just waiting for them to come in.
Yep.
Okay, next up, Christine, you're not off the
Darcy, before you do that, would you just mention the reason why the rocks and plants are there? Because it's not for landscaping.
No, it's not for landscaping. It's to protect the arch. It's protect the arch during use for concerts, for festivals. We've seen a lot of wear and tear on the arch, and this is to protect it. It's not beautification. It has a functional purpose, and that's what the purpose is, to protect our incredibly valuable, most expensive to date piece of public art in Ojai. Okay. Christine, we are going to reopen this topics for the benefit of.
Oh God, me again.
Yeah, what can I say?
You know what? I don't want to do all the talking, and I'm going to ask Nigel. I've already asked him if he would do this. If he would please give a short summary of what the commission discussed last time about this topic. And the topic is, do we as a commission want to recommend to the City of Ojai Legal Department that they amend future contracts between the city and an artist so that the artist is allowed in some way, shape, or form to reproduce the public art object? So everyone weighed in on that, but Robin wasn't there, and we really want to hear from Robin. So Nigel's going to give a summary, Robin, of what we talked about, and then I'm going to call on you to give us your thoughts on it, which we all really want to hear.
I did watch the meeting on video, just so.
For the public, though, so the public knows what it was. Nigel, can you give like a little short summary of what we talked about?
Sure, and I will keep it very brief, despite the fact that our conversations on this very topic have been very extended over the last couple of months, as a matter of fact, because it is a very important topic. So essentially what we're talking about here is that when somebody gets awarded a contract to do a public art project of any description, there is a contract. The contract currently does not permit any reproduction on any level, anywhere, of that particular piece of art. The conversation revolved around whether we should permit in the contract a certain amount to be decided by the commission of reproductions on a certain amount of environments, whether it's a shirt or whether it's a hat or whether it's a wall or something else. Smitty made a very strong representation that he felt that that was the wrong way to go. And I have to admit that at the start of it, that conversation, I was of the opinion that I wanted to allow people a certain leeway to reproduce their art. And at the end, after Smitty's representations and presentation, I'd evolved my thoughts to realize that, and I think these are the words that Smitty used, it's a can of worms to open that one up. The language in the agreement that we have written by the city attorney, which I believe is ironclad, and Robin can kick on that in a little moment, says the artist also agrees not to reproduce the work for any other purpose, period. The work shall be completed by the artist as shown specifically in the contract that we award them. There can be no alterations to that, and they cannot reproduce it. As things stand, it is a deadline. They cannot reproduce it. I am of the opinion at this moment, prior to Robin speaking, that we should leave it exactly where it is. If we want the city attorney to rewrite it, we have to come up with some sort of concept or some sort of agreement that will allow the city attorney to do that. I am now of the opinion that while I want our art to be out there in the world, it is a very, very difficult issue for us to deal with, and we may be better served leaving the contract exactly the way it is. However, I am open to, again, evolving on that. The conversation is essentially, should we leave the language as is? It's a simple sentence. The artist also agrees not to reproduce the work for any other purpose, or do we want to look at that? And with that, I'm done. Robin, over to you.
Okay, well, before we go over to Robin, I just want to thank you for giving that summary. And I want to say that when Robin is done giving her input, that we are going to vote on this. So pay attention, because you're all going to be asked to vote yay or nay. Are we going to leave the contract the way it is? Or are we going to come back at another meeting with some amendments? So Robin, take it away.
Christine, I have a very simple historical question for you. When these artists sign the contract, is there any kind of negotiation? Have you in the past had an artist say, I'd like to write in that I could turn this into, greeting cards or something like that? Has that ever happened?
In this last case, there was an orientation of all 3 artists selected for the projects attended the orientation, and the contract was gone through a step at a time of the whole thing. Luis was there, other people were there as well, Marcy was there. So that was gone through. After that, after the project was finished, a particular artist approached Marcy and myself and said, I would like to make reproductions.
Okay.
And we responded, well, the contract does not allow you to do that, but we would like to sit down and talk to you about it. The artist responded, oh, I'm not going to do this for months if I do it at all. Marcy offered to have a special meeting with the artist, and she said, I'm not going to do it. Don't worry about it. It wouldn't be before March. And then the next thing we saw, she had gone ahead and done it and posted what she had done next to the original art piece so that there could be no mistaking it was a copy. So that's the history. We're really not talking about what that artist did because she's withdrawn.
No, that's not my question either.
Yeah, but does that give the history?
No, you didn't answer my question. So my question is, we have a contract that we present to each of these artists. In any contract, there can be a negotiation. Have you ever had an instance where on any piece in which you have presented a contract, the artist has asked to make any amendment to the contract?
Yes. I'm sorry I didn't answer your question the way you asked it. Yes, we have had that happen with a public artist here in Ojai, where they have negotiated with the lawyer directly on a public art contract.
And then was the contract changed in some way?
I believe the answer to that is yes, that it was slightly modified.
Okay, so I think that's the answer here, that we have a perfectly good contract that I'm sure Matt or some city attorney worked very hard to produce. Any contract is negotiable, but once it's signed, it's signed. So what this other situation is not okay. She signed a contract, and what it is, it is. And I don't think we should go back on our contracts. I think that'd be very bad practice. And Marcy, you're the other lawyer here. And by the way, unlike Marcy, I am not a lawyer in California. And I, as per my oath, Marcy, right, I have to disclose that. And so please, I am trained as a lawyer. The bar is in Washington, not here in California. But generally in contract law, it can be negotiated. And we have a good contract. And artists who want to negotiate and change and be able to reproduce afterward can do that at the front end. And if they don't, then they don't. And let me say, as a book author, I've made the mistake both ways. I've negotiated and I haven't where I should have, and I was stuck with what I got. So that's the answer from me.
I have where in this contract, I'm looking at it and read it, does it say an artist can't?
In the very first paragraph.
Yeah, it's actually misplaced, Smitty. Frankly, it's misplaced. I don't know if Marcy, you would agree with me.
It is misplaced. I can tell you that.
Yeah. It's under something like the procedures for
I'm sorry, Smitty, is your question, where is that sentence that I read?
Yes.
Yes, okay, so it is actually in the third paragraph down under this, the first heading, which says artwork procedure requirements. It's the second sentence in that, second of 3 sentences.
It's not, I don't know how it got placed there. It doesn't actually
Yeah,
belong.
it's a ridiculous place for it
But
to
at any rate, I suppose he could fix that piece of it. But in terms of the actual language, I think it's fine and it's been working. And evidently, occasionally, an artist has said, I want an amendment. Maybe one will come up and want to do reproductions, in which case we can discuss whether we want to make an exception. But I would leave it as it is.
Yeah, right. So if I can just kick in here, I'm not a lawyer in Washington, California, or anywhere else, but I do have a bit of common sense, and I have signed and negotiated plenty of contracts in my life, and that is always exactly the way they go. Here's your contract, you negotiate it, you agree to it, you sign to it. So my opinion is exactly the same as Robin's here, is that we leave it exactly the way it is, with the proviso and the understanding that people can negotiate within that document. And we have a right to say whether or not we want to accept that.
Right, thanks, Nigel. But do I understand that someone actually breached the contract? You're saying this person.
Yes, they did.
All right, so that's another matter that has to be taken up by.
Yeah, it's not relevant to this conversation.
Exactly, that is another matter, and I can tell you that what the artist has, well, I can tell you 2 things. The artist was asked to cease and desist, and that happened immediately. And what we're hearing and what has been conveyed to Luis, and Luis can say what he wants about this, is that the artist does not want to pursue a negotiation. Is that correct, Luis? Is that what
that is correct.
We don't want a negotiation either. It's after the fact. So
no, we don't. We really don't. It's a mess.
Like it would be more like a settlement or whatever, but settlement discussion.
I still am not sure. I'm reading what y'all are saying. It says they agree not to reproduce the work for any other purpose.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? I mean, what is reproduce? Is reproduce a legal word?
Copy.
Yeah, copy.
Well, if you make it, like if it's that wheel, I mean, you can't make that wheel again, but does that mean you can't take pictures of it? I mean, you can't.
You could make it blue and you couldn't take a picture of it and put it on a t-shirt.
You can't make a picture of a sculpture? That's called a reproduction?
No, you can make
not for commercial use, not for commercial use.
You can take a picture of it for personal use. Again, I'm not a lawyer. Robin and Marcy can kick in. Take a picture of it for personal use. But if it is something commercial, like putting it on a t-shirt or a hat or a greeting card, then that would be prohibited by this.
Okay. Well, I see the big one to me is that all artist retains all statutory and common law authorship rights pursuant to the federal law and California intellectual property laws. And it's hard for me to, I don't know, but it's hard for me to believe those laws say artists can't take.
Cindy, I don't I mean, I don't disagree with you, and I don't know this area of the law well enough to know, so I'm trusting that our city attorney knew that there was no conflict between those laws, which I have not read, and what is in this contract. So I have to assume our attorney got it right.
Okay.
And I will add to what Robin is saying, and thanks for that clarification. I will add to that there is a certain expectation on the part of city that when they pay for an art object, an artwork, a public artwork, that it is a one of a kind, that it is unique, that it is not going to show up on t-shirts and hats and whatever have you, because there's a certain devaluation, or I'm not going to say there's really a devaluation because that's debatable, but the thinking is that it devalues the work to have a reproduction. But, and as I
we
said,
had it, apparently the attorney thought we had to actually spell out how we can use it in that same paragraph. And we're allowed to what make 2,000 copies or something like that?
That is very standard for any intellectual property, that every right is enumerated. So
right.
Okay. All right.
Well, are we ready to take this to a vote then? Do we
want
to make a motion?
Do we have a motion?
What's a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we leave the contract exactly as it is, on the advice of the city attorney, that this contract is valid in the state of California. And unless we hear anything different, then that is exactly what we should do.
Okay. Can
Do we
we
have a second?
to leave the contract the way it is?
Yeah, let's just leave it at that.
We need a vote anyway.
Unless we hear anything different.
Why do we need a vote if we're leaving it the same?
Oh, thank you, Robin. We don't have to vote on this if we're leaving it the same. You're absolutely right. Thank you. Good call. Great call. This is why we love you.
Yeah, moving right along because I'm getting hungry.
Commissioner Chisholm, would you like to withdraw your motion?
Yeah, let's withdraw the motion.
Okay.
Motion
Thank you,
withdrawn.
Louis.
Okay, we can
you,
proceed.
Lesson learned. Thanks, Robin.
I'm just hungry.
All right, Marcy, we
Yeah,
move
okay.
on.
Smitty, can we hear from you about the public piano? Any other information that you found out?
You skipped item F, Marcy.
Oh, lifetime achievement. Oh, yeah.
It's okay. It's late.
Yeah, Nigel, we need.
I can make this very, very fast, which I know none of you are going to believe. But there's two things that I want to say about this.
Prove that to me, Nigel. Prove it.
Right, I've made a mistake on two names, and I apologize. On the Lifetime Achievement Awards list, Linda Taylor is listed as Linda Taller. I missed the Y. And also in your presentation booklet, I made an error, and I'm just pulling it out on Mr. Soam. If you've got that in front of you, you may or may not. Hopefully you printed it out so there's actually one page. For some reason, and this just kills me because I'm so particular about this stuff, it is Richard instead of Joseph. So those are really the only two things I want to say to you. You've got the packets in front of you. I would say that in 2019, there was theatre. 2018, it was voice. 2017, artist and designer. 2016, artist. 2015, musician. 2014, patron of the arts. 2013, theatre. 2012, art historian. And 2010, and I do know I missed 2011 because Luis and I have got to get together about that, as an architect. So one of the things that is missing, this is a Lifetime Achievement Award, and we need to ensure that we honor people in all aspects of the art. On this particular list, I have asked you when we discuss it, and we don't have to discuss this now. There are all sorts of folks on there, and I would draw your attention to number 9. Number 9. If you've got that in front of you, and if you don't, you can look at it if we get offline. This particular candidate, in my opinion, has changed the face of this country, is added massively to how we perceive what we are, who we are. And the quote that I came across in a movie as it relates to his particular art form, not related to him, was that time moves by us. The job of a photographer is to stop the clock and allow us to see ourselves as we are and as we were, because we forget so much.
Nigel, in my packet, number 9 is not a photographer.
Is he not?
No, number 9 is an environmental artist, and I don't see the photographer anywhere.
I wonder if you have.
I don't see him anywhere. The photographer is not in my packet.
Well, I wonder if you have the correct packet.
Well, I have a hard copy that I was given, so I don't know.
What I will do, Luis, I will ensure that you have the correct packet tomorrow. And if you forward that to all of the commissioners, please.
Could anybody else say, is number 9 in your packet a photographer or an environmental artist?
Photographer.
Number 9 and for you guys? All right, Louise.
Raise your hands if it's a photographer.
And Commissioner Golden, just to assure, you're looking at page 9 of 23, correct?
All the nominees have numbers before their names.
Correct.
Can you show by a raising of your hand if number 9 is a photographer? Robin, I can't hear you because you're on mute.
The Lifetime Achievement Award, Christine. I think you're looking at the other one.
Yeah.
Oh, for crying out loud, Christine.
Yeah.
You're still excited about the
Lifetime Achievement Award number 9 is a photographer.
Thanks. All right. I didn't want to say it, Robin, so thank you for clearing that up.
Well,
listen, this is an open conversation. Everybody on that list is absolutely worthy in their own way. They have all contributed, and we're very, very grateful and honored that they live in this incredible town. What I'm looking at on the list is an area of the arts that has not been honored for at least 10 years, which is why I was reading down that list for you. If you want me to send you a list of what areas of expertise the people were honored, then I'm happy to do that to you. I can send it to Luis and he can kick it out. Without tilting my hand too much, which I may have already done so, I've looked at this particular candidate's work and I've just been stunned. And it was just, as I say, it was in the last week that I came across this quote about what photographers do. And looking through this individual's work, I'm shamed that I hadn't thought about what photographers do prior to last week, and my goodness. So I would encourage you, please, to have a look through the packets that you have with regards to the Lifetime Achievement Award. I would encourage you to look at what the previous recipients of the Lifetime Achievement Award have represented, and I would encourage you to think about where we should award that important. We're an arts community. This is important stuff we're dealing with here. Have a think about that, and we can have an ongoing conversation. Next month, we can engage that conversation a little bit with a view to coming to a decision with all of us that we can agree to get behind. With regard to the Hope Fraser Award, and Robin, I'm doing my very best. I truly am.
Yeah, you're running over here.
I know. I'm hearing you. I'm hearing myself. With regard to the Hope Fraser Award, again, can you see that? We have a fabulous list. In the coming year, by this time next year, we're going to, as a commission, try to revisit the criteria of both of these awards and maybe institute another award in addition. But you have a great list for the Hope Fraser Award also, and I won't get into that. I will just ask you to consider all of the nominees with an open mind. If you have any questions, observations, comments, then I would ask you to please contact me. At this point, I would like to mention something very specific, in that Smitty and Julia's name was on that list for the Hope Fraser Award, and it has been removed. Smitty was aware prior to joining the commission that would happen. And it was, as the chair of the awards committee, it kind of broke my heart a little bit, Smitty, to take you and Julia off it, simply because you're sitting on the commission, because you should win it, in truth. But you are giving more to this community now by sitting on this commission than any award could ever honor you. You're honoring us. You continue to honor us with your presence on this commission. And so I hope you understand and accept that because you're on the commission, you can't win an award. And I hope you never win an award, because I hope you stay on the commission and continue to honor us in that manner. Have a look through the awards. I have made a suggestion to the awards committee that we put a time limit on awards, 3 to 5 years, and we can discuss that in the next meeting. But have a look through these. Number 8 is particularly of interest to me on the Hope Fraser, simply because of the overall impact on town. Number 9, we've already discussed a little bit earlier on tonight. Number 11, what can you say? But honestly, again, they're all there because they are deserving. And we've got a little bit of catching up on the Hope Fraser Award. With that, I'll take any questions from you. Any observations, comments, thoughts? No, I'm done. Next.
Is it Joe Sohm or Richard Sohm?
Joe.
It's Joe. Did
Yeah.
you say that already? All right. I know that guy. That's great.
We are unbelievably blessed in this town, and I am grateful personally to be on this committee, because I have learned so much about people I had no idea even lived in our town. That is a shocking admission from somebody who's sitting in the Arts Commission, but it's true. And if I don't know, we need to do a better job as an Arts Commission, getting these people's names out there and getting out there what we do. And Smitty, Channel 10, this is how we do that. Anything else?
Thank you, Nigel. Smitty, do you want to just give us a brief rundown about the public piano and what the next steps will be?
Yeah, I think we weren't quite prepared to give a full report here, but I'll just let you know that we'll have a bit more next month. We have a working budget that we made sure we got the piano and the working budget. I think we're doing that at our next meeting, is it? And we realized that the cost of a piano is the physical piano is the least of the cost, and the effort and the resources need to go into it. And we're doing some research and checking with some other cities to see what their experience has been like. We'll give more next month.
Okay, because Smitty, for a budget request, then you'll have a specific budget request for the piano for next month?
I think it's going to be, or did you say maybe that was going to be public art?
It could be public art, or you can go ahead and submit a specific request through the budget. It would just need.
We planned something. What did we come up with, Louise?
Talk about whether it's appropriate to take that
Yeah.
out of the public art fund. The ordinance probably will not allow that. So let's have a conversation, Scott and Luis, about that, because that's performance art. It is not a public art installation, so it would not be allowed by the ordinance public art fund. Sorry. Unless we paint it and you turn it into a public art piece.
Well, they usually are.
That
They
we
usually are.
Yeah.
So,
I brought that up last week.
the three of us need to talk and put our heads together on that.
Okay, and then bring it back to the commission in terms of what will be required in terms of monies, so that we could put it in the budget, and then what category do you want it to be in? Arts education. You'll figure it out and bring it back. Okay, speaking of budget, you all have the chart in your packet, and I'll just briefly run through arts grants. I'm going to keep the $25,000 request as it was last year, which represented a decrease from the previous year. Art acquisitions, we've pretty much zeroed it out, but left $100 in for miscellaneous upkeep on art that we already have. Miscellaneous expenses, mentorships, we'll keep the request in at $5,000. City Gallery, we're going kind of inactive and hanging our own municipal collection, $100 for that. And then the relationship with the museum, we have $100. Our role in the museum has been limited as of late, and we can get into that the next meeting, tell you what's happening with the museum and the Arts Commission. Art awards, Nigel has proposal for some ideas he has for the awards. We can get into that next time. $3,000, and I'd need that if we agree to go forward with that budget request, Nigel, broken out so we can explain to the city council.
Okay.
Why we've jumped up from 750 down to 250 up to 3,000.
Yep.
Arts education, last year we didn't ask for anything, but Smitty has wonderful ideas, so we will keep the budget at 2,000. Public art, for the Public Art Committee, expenses related to public art that are not part of a public art project that relate to expenditures from the committee, $500. That's down $500 from last year. Public relations, $1,250. That's up $250 from last year. And the copier rental, we're saying zero. No money has ever been taken out of that line item since we've been putting it in our budget. So our total is $37,050. That's up $2,000, $2,050 from the previous year. So we'll need to justify that. But I think, we've taken some hits, we've taken some reductions in some of these other categories. So I think we can justify it sufficiently. So that's budget. Yeah, Christine.
The only sheet I have in my packet, and I hope I'm not going to embarrass myself again, but the only one that has a breakdown is awards committee. Didn't you ask for a breakdown from all the different committees? And I'd like to see what the breakdown is and what the money is being spent for. And also the way I submitted the report is not what's reflected here. So for next month, I would like it to reflect the way I submitted it.
I thought you submitted.
I didn't. It's not 3 separate committees anymore. It's one committee.
Okay, all right.
And then I sent a sheet with the breakdown of what the expenses were. I thought that would be in the packet. Just my request.
Well, we'll get it for next week. In your area, please just get as specific as you can with the line item to justify.
I would like to see the breakdown from all the committees, what the expenses are for. And I think they would want to see what mine are as well.
Right. No, that's important because that's how we, we'll be asked. City Council will ask. So I need to know. Yeah, Nigel, you did do your breakdown.
I did. I was just being nice when I said I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Got
it. Okay, so to be continued next month. Speaking of which, it's not on your agenda, but we will talk about briefly if anyone has ideas for future agenda items.
I do. I would like to put on the agenda to talk about whether or not the Arts Commission wants to do anything to honor Maudette Fink, who was chair of the Arts Commission. She helped author the public art ordinance. She's very important to the public art, the whole thing here.
Yeah.
And do we want to honor her in any way? I'd like that to be on a future agenda. She passed. We lost her recently. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll do that. We'll continue the budget. Smitty, the piano discussion for next time.
Yeah, and I think I'll have something on the website next time too.
Excellent. Okay.
Oh, great.
What's your angle with that, with the website?
Just the update. We got a new format, and we're I'm working on it. Not a lot of time, but I'm going to ask people for bios and stuff. We don't even have a commissioner page on it right now.
I know, exactly. Okay, perfect. Any other items for next?
No, we just need to revisit the awards thing. We need to tidy up the awards thing next month. So that's probably already on the agenda, right?
What's on our calendar, and I take what's on our calendar and I incorporate it for the agenda, and then I add on. These are like add-ons that we're talking about. But yeah, of course, we'll have awards. Anyone else have something they want to discuss? Okay. Okay, thank you. And now if Luis would give us his liaison report.
Of course, there's really not too much to report. Public subjects to public art. The only project, as Commissioner Golden had mentioned earlier, one that we're keeping an eye on is the El Roblar Hotel. That project is still pending review of the Planning Commission. So I hope by the next meeting, I hope to have additional information there. And then there are no changes to the Public Art Fund. I think everything there has remained the same. That's pretty it.
Between now and the next meeting, do you think you could find out Hakani Ojai, what's going on with that? Because they are moving and I understand they qualify or would qualify as well. And I don't know how to follow up on that if you have time.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go ahead and do that for you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
And if you can also look into, once again, the inn, and I know they're doing work on Jimmy Demerit's, the Jimmy Demerit's restaurant there, and
Okay.
I think they're doing stuff we might not know about. I'm not sure, but
And-
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I could definitely go ahead and double check with our community development department. I know one of the projects, and excuse me, I apologize. One of the projects that is moving forward is the central service building. They are moving forward with that, and they have paid that waiver of the $7,864 that has been paid. So they are moving forward that specific project.
great.
And for the next budget, for the next agenda, could we put a line item on there to discuss moving funds that were unspent from public art allocation projects back to the pool of money? I mean, we all have to vote on doing that, and I don't want to get into a whole explanation of it now. Could that be agendized for next month as well, please?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, now does any, I'll go through one by one and call on each of you to give a commissioner comment. Robin? Oh, you're, unmute yourself.
Nope, just great work, everybody.
Great,
Thanks.
thank you. Christine?
Yes, and I want to thank Chair Tosher and Vice Chair Chisholm for being out of town and asking me if I would step in and make a report to City Council. And in addition to talking about the passing of Maudette Fink, who was so important to the Arts Commission, I also noted that we lost the wonderful photographer Phil Harvey, and that we also lost a great watercolor artist. And by the way, we have Phil Harvey is in our municipal collection. We lost Norman Kirk, who is also an artist in our municipal collection, an incredible nationally known watercolor artist. And we lost someone whose name I know you'll all know. He did work on Ojai Day posters. He did a label for a wine at Topa Mountain Winery. He's known for his vibrant colors, and we lost Kent Butler. His wife Sharon is still with us. She is also an artist. So we lost some giants in the art field, and I just wanted to mention that to all of you. Maudette, Phil Harvey, Norman Kirk, and Kent Butler. That's it.
Thank you, Christine, and I watched your presentation. It was excellent.
What?
Nigel, do you have any closing comments?
Of course I do. Robin's thinking my dinner's 2 minutes away and it's just moved back to 5 minutes away. Firstly, we lost Linda a couple of weeks ago, Linda Harmon. As a blow, she's been here 10 years, and that is a massive, massive commitment to town. We lost Sammy Daringer. Huh?
13 years.
13 years. That's even a more massive commitment. We lost Sammy this past week, and we all know about Sammy, one of the best writers you will ever hope to meet, and somebody who any arts commission will be happy and proud to have on. This just brings me, because we've got Susan and Bill sitting right here. So I would encourage both of you to take the next hires very, very seriously, because we're not necessarily looking for people to fill holes. We're looking to be able to work as a commission and get people on who we can work together with. Anybody can learn what the commission does. And Bill, you're at my interview. You know, you've probably seen some involvement from me here. We can teach people what they need to know. We can show them, as long as they've got a passion for it. The most important thing with regards to this commission, as I see it right now, is that we got people who respect each other and we can move forward in lockstep and still have disagreements and still observe, but we've got to be able to work together. And that is something that may have not always happened in the recent past, but it's unbelievably critical that we do that now. And as we move forward with the appointments, I would beg you to communicate with the mayor and to certainly speak to Marcy, our chair, about what we need, but more importantly, who we need on this commission. So thank you both for being here. Luis, thank you. You are incredible. James, you're a stud. So thank you very much for being here as well. I am done.
Thank
Susan.
you.
Well,
Actually, no, Susan, can you wait? Because we need to get Smitty.
oh, I just wanted to I wanted to respond to Nigel, but I can wait. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you'll have your opportunity after we get through the commissioners. Smitty.
I think Nigel's, said what I was going to say. Just, well, Linda and Sammy, we thank them and bid them adios. And I look forward to the new members. And because we're an arts town and our town deserves a full commission.
Absolutely. And my comment would be, I agree with everything that everyone said. I just want to add one little thing, and it's not an official Arts Commission thing, but I have something kind of cooking at Ojai Coffee Roasters, and that's, I want to help put up a little art show in October and November on the wall and Coffee Roasters, where Stacy Garrett, she always has art shows. Well, I want to show artwork from students at Matilaha and Nordhoff and let them have like their own little mini art show. And I'm thinking it would be watercolors and pastels. So if anyone, wants to help me put that together, I would welcome your help. And with that, Souza, City Council Liaison Report.
Yeah. So you'll be glad to know that tomorrow, starting at 2:00, we're interviewing 6 arts potential wannabe art commissioners.
Yeah, who's getting kicked off here?
No, we're interviewing. There's at least 6. There's even more, but we're only interviewing 6. Yeah. And so that we're doing Mayor Sticks and I and Marcy are doing the interview. I completely agree with what you said, because you have a wonderful commission that works so well together. I've been every meeting and I'm very impressed. This is the kind of commission we need for a city that's internationally known for the arts. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Souza.
Yeah.
Marcy, could I say something real quick?
Sure.
Okay, number one, thank you for demonstrating once again why this is always my favorite commission to watch in action. It really is, time and time again. You guys are inspiring, and past commissions have been inspiring. It's really something. Nigel, I'm going to tease you for brilliantly demonstrating that the definition of brevity is relative. And I'm glad to hear you're not, you haven't been over there in the UK giving Boris a hard time in Bristol the last few nights.
I do it on Facebook, Bill.
I'm gonna have to check it out now. All right, everybody, we've completed our agenda, and I thank everyone for their participation and attendance. And I think we had a productive meeting, and I look forward to our meeting next month, same time, same day of the week, same place. So thank you, and with that, we're adjourned.
Dickens.